All right, guys, we're on the Miami Made Show. Angelo, Bobby, we got Billy Corben here today. What's going on?
What's going on, dude? And a
Mr. Cocaine Cowboy, for those of you who don't know.
not Mr. Cocaine, but Mr. Cocaine Cowboys. Today is the day Monty Traynor is having a street named after him in Coconut Grove. They have. I'm going to that ceremony
after him
later. Yeah, in case you're looking to evade traffic and taxes. Monty Traynor is the street to take. He'd like that joke. I think.
At what time is that?
It's 3:30 or something this afternoon in Coconut Grove. Yeah.
Awesome. So Billy, I wanted to
right by the Mutiny.
By the Mutiny. Yeah. I was there recently. I did a podcast there for the Cuban dudes. Shout out to my guys. And I sat there and they filmed. We did it live there, and they weren't aware of where I was at physically because we were all like through the link of the podcast where they send you the link and you put it on your phone. And I said, guys, look where I'm at. And they went wild.
They weren't recording it there.
Yeah.
You were just there, chilling at the Mutiny. Of course you were, you son of a bitch. That's awesome.
And my room, I rented there not too long ago, a couple of years back. My room was 305.
Get at. I
have a picture.
So which
theme was that?
With a little, it had no theme. They changed it.
Not anymore.
Yeah,
not anymore. But I don't have my keys on me. It's in my bag. But my
pirate.
Keys, I carry around an original chamber room key and the keychain with the pirate logo on it with Burton Goldberg's pirate logo, and it's an original. And I wasn't sure because I had gotten it, and the key is kind of sketchy.
Yes.
You can imagine
it's like a house key.
It's a weird silver
always
key.
good for cocaine.
Not only is it silver, but it has it's kind of got scratched out. It's real sketchy. And so I went to one of the reunions after Robin Farzad wrote his book about the Mutiny, Hotel Scarface, and I said, "Is this legit? Is this a real?" And they're like, "Fuck yeah, that is a real."
I've seen it. It's got a little scratch around the top of the rim.
And the guy told me. So the guy, grown now, he's got 2 sons who are college football players. He used to work at the Mutiny as the overnight room service delivery boy. Okay?
Wow.
Before college, putting himself through college, and he said to me, it took me almost 20 years of being a professional out in the world to make as much money again as I was making as a teen, in my late teens, early 20s, as the overnight fucking room service, because people would just tip him fistfuls of hundreds in cash, and he'd be like, "Thanks," and I'm like, what an amazing
story,
time.
Yeah. He's probably got more to that story.
Oh yeah, but he's not talking. Robin tried. Farzad tried, dude. Yeah.
Awesome. So, Billy, I was going to share with you, if you remember that day, I think it was my birthday. I'm with Stephen Bauer, Chi-Chi. You're on the Paul and Ron, goodbye show for Ron.
All right.
It's at the Hard Rock.
Yes.
And we're running late.
The old improv.
Yes.
Yeah, we were there with Dan Marino and Bert Kreischer. I think was there.
Yes.
And you were late.
Yes. And there's one chair left on the panel, and they're expecting Steven, and we all 3 walk in. Billy looks over and he goes, "Here, take my chair." And we all run up to the thing. They weren't expecting Chi-Chi to be there either.
Right.
And the first thing was so funny. He, while they're all talking, Chi-Chi rolls up a bill and acts like he's going to do a line.
and this
Paul's like, "What's going on?"
It was like a big audience. It was crazy. It was.
Are you sure he was pretending?
And when you have when you have Bert Kreischer there, invariably people are going to end up with their shirts off.
Yes,
so
we all did. Yes,
everybody shirts off. It was not the kind of topless show you wanted to see, but it was a pretty funny. It was a pretty funny. By the way, this is so this is like 7 o'clock in the fucking morning.
Yes, at the Hard Rock.
8 o'clock in the morning. It was crazy.
Like 300, 400, 500 people. I don't even know how many people were there. It was pretty big. Packed. And I'll never forget it. He's the first one that sees us coming through this back door, and we're running.
Oh, that's right. You came up this. Yeah, that's right. They came in the fucking Goodfellas entrance, right through the kitchen and everything. The full tracking shot, and I'm like, oh shit, because I was at that end with Dan Marino.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh shit, come up. That was funny.
It was my birthday. We're staying at the Margaritaville, and we thought, okay, we'll go east to west down Griffin, right? There was traffic. So everybody's calling us, and we're not even on the show yet, but we're listening to it on the radio in the car, and they're all like, "Where's Stephen Bauer?" And Dan Marino's like, "Yeah!" And they're all talking about it, and they're texting him, and I'm in the car telling the driver, the guy couldn't speak English, and we couldn't get across. We end up there late, but it got even funnier. After the show, we're all taking these stone crabs, remember?
Oh, right.
And we lost them.
Joe's catered, and there were boxes. I mean, boxes of shit. It was
crab.
crazy. I've never seen anything like it. It was like the most, but to this day, the most lavish thing. Like not since Goldfinger went to Fort Knox and like fucking stole the gold. Like this was the like. I'm like, holy shit! This is like boxes of like the boxes were thousands of dollars.
Big
worth
boxes
of stuff
too, yeah.
in these giant takeaway like cardboard boxes.
And we lost ours. Somebody robbed them. We were like, we lost our
We kept
box.
setting them aside, like we were like, oh, pass them down, and we're like, pass them down. Fuck, we're gonna. Put them
Yeah,
on the
you're
tape.
just talking them.
We kept hoarding them, and then lost them. Every single one of them.
And me, Steven, and Chi-Chi, we're talking to Billy and everybody. And this is after the show. And we're trying to get out. So we're trying to leave. And we're walking. And he sees us. He says, hey, where you guys going? We're like, we're going back to Margaritaville. And he's like, come in. Jump in the car. I'll take you guys. And we all went back to Margaritaville. And we reenacted a scene, remember?
Yes, it was so loud because it was right by that giant surf
Yes.
simulator thing
Yes.
that they have, and we did the Fontainebleau pool scene.
Yes.
Between Al Pacino and Stephen Bauer, but with Stephen as Pacino.
Yes.
And Chi-Chi
Chi-Chi.
was Stephen Bauer.
Yes.
Was man.
And I was the boy.
It was yes.
And you said, get the mayo.
Yes, Chi-Chi, get the mayo. Yeah, we were having lunch. You know,
Yeah.
it was club sandwich.
That was so much fun. And that turned out to be great because from there on, you and Steven ended up working on a few things.
I love Stephen. He's so funny and he's so generous.
Steven Bowers, who we're talking about.
Yeah, and I don't know that anybody knows this story. When I had him on my podcast on Because Miami, I meant to tell this story, but we were celebrating the 40th anniversary of Scarface, so we just kind of were telling great stories and lost track of time. But we did a pilot for a show called Sunny Place for Shady People,
yes.
about Miami, and it was going to be like kind of like American Greed, but just crazy, colorful South Florida stories. And Steven was going to be our Stacy Keach, our narrator,
Yeah.
and Stacy, every episode of
He's got a great voice.
He got a great voice, and Stacy Keach, like every episode of American Greed, he says the same line. He goes, what was the line? He's like, they use the company's accounts as his own personal piggy bank. So we wanted to have Steven be like that guy, and so he was so funny, and he was in LA at that point, and we were doing this in Miami, and he's like, listen, I got a great recording studio. It's in a synagogue in LA. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's like, yeah, he's like, there's this great synagogue that I do a lot of work at, and they have like this nonprofit where they help people who are like going through addiction and recovery and coming out of prison, and they put them to work in this studio and to try to help them get back on their feet. I'm like, this is brilliant. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
He's like, so I'm going to record it there. And I'm like, okay, we didn't have a lot of money, but we had a fee, obviously, for him to compensate him for his time. He goes, oh, no, you just make the check out to the rabbi. He goes, I just want to donate my fee to the synagogue. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, yeah. So he did it for free. He went in there, put these guys to work, and we wrote a check to the charity. It was unbelievable.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Sweet, yeah. Amazing. Good times. And I remember the premiere we did at the Regal, right? At the Regal in South Beach. Was it there? No, it was the O Cinema.
Oh,
No.
I think it was the O?
Yeah.
Which one?
No, it was the Regal.
Yeah,
was
it
the
was at the Regal.
Yeah. That you said to me, prep him to say this when I say this. Because you were doing the Q&A.
Oh,
and we're sitting in the audience.
Yes.
And so you text me.
Was
and
it
I
the
go,
Miami Film Festival? What did we do?
I think it was the Sunny Place for Shady People. I think it was some kind of like screening that we did.
I think but I think it was like with the festival, maybe.
Yeah.
It's one of those nights where if you remember it, you weren't really there, maybe.
Been there.
Yeah, it could have been Miami Film Festival. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we partnered with them and we did that screen. Oh,
And then we hung out and we went over to Lincoln Road or something like that.
yeah,
And
probably
it
like
was really cool.
Segafredo or something.
Yeah, it was a lot of
not
fun.
Van Dyke anymore.
No,
unfortunately.
man, that's such a great spot, isn't
Love
it?
that place and the jazz
Iconic.
upstairs and
Yeah.
it's like local spots. That's what's happened. Like we, our office has been on Lincoln Road for like 20 years, and every year there's like fewer places that like we feel like that we can go to, like all our commissaries, all the places
Yeah.
where like the locals would go and like the business owners and people there would go, just have been slowly disappearing.
What's one of your favorite places in Miami Beach, South Beach now that's a go-to place?
To go to now, so what I really like, and this is cool because it's on my way to and from the office, is Meraki, the Greek place, right on Alton and 9th. Part of the reason is parking is super easy.
Right.
They have their own parking lot that they share with like the bodega and the liquor store. So you just cruise right in, you grab your food.
Isn't
and
Laundromat
you're
still
out.
there?
And yes, I think there's the bodega, there's like a little liquor store
Yeah,
and laundromat,
yeah.
and they're like a dry cleaner, and then Meraki, which has been various things through the years, but it's just great, and it's simple, and it's easy. And there was a great sushi restaurant across the street that's gone, that just closed in the last couple of months. And we used to go to Balance, of course, all the time on Lincoln Road. We'd go to Baides when it was there on Lincoln Road.
Sushi Samba, right?
Sushi Samba.
Quattro.
Oh my God, Quattro. Which actually, Quattro, there's a cool chill Italian restaurant that's there now that I like. I don't know what it's called, but it's good.
It.
Yeah, it's real cool. And Books and Books used to be, that was our we would eat there 3 times a week.
Well, that's where your office is in that
in that old building, and then they and then of course Mitch Kaplan, the owner of Books and Books, he sells the cafe. And it becomes Aura at Books and Books. It's still very good. It's just a little more Lincoln Roady, a little more picture menus, that giant margarita glass with 6 beers in it. The plastic lobster on the plate out front, on display kind of thing. And then of course the full bar, and on the weekends there's a DJ. We feel it upstairs in our office. Our office starts to vibrate. And my joke is
very Miami.
It went from Books and Books to, and now they call it Books and 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 Books. So that's awesome. But it's still cool, but it's not as chill locally. But Lincoln Road isn't as chill and locally as it used to be.
So Billy, you're born and raised in Miami.
I was born. I'm a Florida native and a lifelong Miami because my dad was born. My dad was born actually at St. Francis Hospital.
Wow.
On 62nd. Right by Lagorce, which is now a condo, I think.
Yeah.
And as were his 3 siblings. But my dad was working in Fort Myers. So when my mom was pregnant, when I was born, he happened to be on a job in Fort Myers. So I was born there, and then we moved back to North Miami Beach, a city with no beach in its border. A beach in its name, but no beach in its border.
Right.
Good when you're selling real estate, but not so good when you get there.
Hey, where's the beach?
Bunch of man-made lakes and iguanas and shit.
Dean's Gold.
Yeah, Dean's Gold, well, solid gold, and then Dean's Gold. Yeah. So I moved. When I say moved back, we moved here when I was 3. So that's why I say native Floridian, lifelong Miami.
But you'd say you're Miamian. I mean, I'd say as friends, to me, you represent Miami in so many ways, and you're a fan of Miami. You represent Miami.
Oh, I love Miami. Sometimes I'm not so sure if I like it, but I definitely but that's like family, right?
Right.
I love my family. It's a few of them I don't like so much. It's kind of like
true.
that. But you have that relationship with anything that you really profoundly and deeply love. You're can we do better? Can we? Is there some way to
Yes.
Always. We're all about that.
Yeah, it's like what hang a lantern on your problems, and or as Jeff Ross, the comedian, says, we only roast the ones we love, right?
Yes.
Because if you don't give a shit.
Yeah,
you don't think about it. You don't joke about it. But I do. I love this place very much, and I think a lot about great Florida men before us. Jimmy Buffett, for which A1A is now rightfully named for. Even Carl Hyacin, who's not gone but retired, and you had this dream of leaving behind a better Florida than the one you were born into, and we all grow up to the point where we realize that that's not going to happen.
Right.
but
we
you
try.
still want to make your but we still try, and you still want to make your contribution.
Right. So I have a question for you. We're sitting on Washington Avenue, and if you look right across, beautiful Good Time Hotel. Shout out to Dave Grutman and the group. That was the Strip. That's where Living Room, Bash, KGB, 609, all
KGB,
the bars.
Oh shit, I remember KGB.
Yeah.
Upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like 6th, or that was
that
was
6 and 7. Here. That whole strip right there.
My God.
What do you remember from those moments in the 90s of Miami that were so special and magical and cool?
So here's a funny thing that's not so cool. I didn't start drinking until I was 21 years old. So I was the designated driver. And I was like, wait a second, we're not old enough to go clubbing. We're not old. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, so we would come here where things were a little less strict,
Right.
a little more casual. And I remember KGB. I remember Liquid. And then after Liquid, there was Sweet upstairs,
Snatch.
and then Snatch downstairs. I said that out loud.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
That's
a thing.
I was the promoter of KGB.
Were you really?
Yeah.
No shit.
Yeah.
Because I was definitely there in the 90s.
Yeah.
And we actually shot something there
Yeah.
in 97.
Yeah.
90, they let us
And
like during the day.
I would do an
stuff there.
film industry party there on Fridays. So a lot of folks would come out, and then at the time, Matt Dillon was filming
Wild Things.
And so he came out, Nev Campbell, all the girls, Denise Richards.
Yeah.
And then it just somehow became like a thing where they would come out there, and so Tyson, Stallone, different actors.
Dennis Rodman always.
Dennis Rodman,
Yeah.
Steven Tyler. But in the film aspect, a lot of actors started showing up and hanging out, and we at the time we were just using flyers, right?
Carmen
we would go
Electra.
all around Coconut Grove, passing out the flyers. Me and Abdel Tornez, who's a producer now in L.A., and Oscar Torre, who's an actor. He's out in L.A. as well. That was the group of promoters that we had at the time, and another group with Victor Torres and these guys. And it's funny because a lot of times people don't mention KGB, but it was a fun place.
It was fun.
The door staff, it had, Keith, who was an actor who died in 9/11, who was one of the doormen, Massimo, Hochi, Fabrizio, a lot of these, personalities,
famous.
characters, well-known characters. And it was a pretty cool design, too. If you remember, it had the upstairs and downstairs and an outdoor patio upstairs as well, that we would play a little bit of Latin music up there. But then in the VIP was George Acosta. And downstairs we had Edgar V. Two great DJs that you might remember or maybe not, but that was the spot.
I remember distinctly the upstairs.
Yeah.
I don't remember for whatever reason, coming up those stairs, like in the back and the upstairs. Of course, I remember home cooking.
Yes.
When it
Tuesdays.
was at what
Thursday.
was
It was a Thursday night.
Groove Jet and
Thursday
Rain.
night.
Groove Jet and then Rain,
Yeah.
or was it the opposite when at 23rd
Yeah,
23rd Street?
It was Groove Jet first.
And then Rain, and then I remember Amnesia when
Right.
it was Amnesia,
Right.
and then it was Opium Garden, and then it was Clutch for like 15 minutes,
Yeah.
and then it was Story.
Right.
Eventually, when it closed, that was a beautiful, unique spot.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Like
Yeah.
just walking through there.
Yeah, it was like a Greek.
But it was so big that
Looking.
it drained all the other clubs. So it made a lot of enemies because all the club owners
You're taking away the crowd.
you're taking away our crowd. You
Right.
know, it's not right.
It's also like South of Fifth was its own sort of
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
as well. at that
Penrod's
time.
and Nikki Beach.
Yeah, and there wasn't a ton of stuff going on
No.
down there. I mean, it was the Big Pink, which is amazingly
Yes.
still around.
Prime 112.
Prime 112, a little bit later, I
Yeah,
feel.
Monty's.
And that was.
But still,
kinda
they're
it.
like on-
and Joe's, of course.
Yeah.
They were like on Third.
Yeah. Third.
So you're just 3 blocks away from the epicenter.
Yeah.
So it's south of
Absolutely.
5th, but we're just 1 block from 5th.
Yeah.
But I know what you're saying that
Yeah.
there wasn't a lot
But there was still an
happening
attitude,
back
like when you
then.
were there at China Grill,
Yeah.
which
Right.
was there at Fifth, like in Washington, it would be like you're either going left or you're going right.
Yeah,
It
Bar
was sort of a
None.
Yeah,
different.
Bar None,
Oh,
Jason's
wow.
Which is
Shit.
Stallone's
Yeah.
place, yeah.
Yeah, and then Prince had Glam Slam.
Glam Slam.
At the
1235.
Yeah,
1235 Washington.
and then
Sean Penn had Bash over here.
Bash. Oh shit.
Yeah.
And then there was. Here's funny. So in high school, there was a spot we'd go to where they really didn't give a shit about IDs, called the Tokyo Club, at 34th and Collins. So it's right where Faina. You know that little
Yes,
parking,
yes,
that public
yes,
parking lot
yes.
to the north of Faina.
Yes.
So in that parking lot, what's now they're now building another giant
Condo.
building there. But there was an old building there. It was one of those side alley, like
Yes.
below the condo,
Yeah.
like below the building kind of thing. So we'd park right in that public lot on 34th on the beach, and then we'd go. It was just this creepy, shady side door,
Yeah.
and it was all you can drink and all you can eat sushi. And we would go in there, and they wouldn't, and karaoke.
Yeah.
So we'd go up there. I went to New World School of the Arts, so everybody was like, let's go drink and eat and sing. And we would just go in and drink and eat and,
Yeah, it was
and
a-
sing. And I was the designated driver.
Off the subject, when did you want to do Cocaine Cowboys? What inspired you to do that?
Oh, well, we had done our first documentary, Raw Deal, A Question of Consent, when I took a leave of absence from the University of Miami because we heard about this insane story happening at the University of Florida in Gainesville about this exotic dancer who claims she had been sexually assaulted by some frat guys up there, and it was all captured on video. And we had obtained the video, and we're going to make a documentary about it. And basically 1 year after we decided to make that documentary, almost to the day, we were premiering it at the Sundance Film Festival, which was crazy. We're 21 years old, 22 years
Which
old.
is coming up.
Yeah, which is coming up. Yeah, every year around this time.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, Sundance Film Festival, and this is 2001, and we were at the time the youngest filmmakers in the history of Sundance, the only ones from Miami ever at that time.
Congratulations!
And thank
on
you.
That.
Well, that was 20. Dude, that
That's
novelty.
epic,
That
yeah.
novelty wore off long ago. We're old now, but it was really cool at the time because everybody, the documentary was hugely popular. It made the front page of the New York Post out of the festival, and we did about 50 or 60 interviews in the span of 5 or 6 days, and everybody said the same thing. The last question was always the same, which is like, now that you've arrived, this is like the indie filmmaker's dream of coming to Sundance, making a big splash.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to move to New York or LA? And we're like, well, no. And they're like, well, why not? And we're like, well, first of all, we're going to go back home, because home is where you go when you're done with other shit. That's why they call it. That's why they call it home. So we're gonna go home, and we don't want to be three more schmucks. My producing partners Alfred Spellman and David Sipkin. We don't want to be three more schmucks just peddling our wares in New York or LA. Everybody does that. We want to kind of tie in our company and our storytelling, our story selection, our style into our city. Right? We want to be like the quote unquote Miami guy, so that we would have a calling card, so that when you knock on doors and you want to pitch something, you'd be like, oh, you're those Miami guys. And so to that end, we were looking for a story to tell. Raw Deal was a Florida true crime story, but it was Gainesville. It wasn't really like a Miami
South Florida
story. Right. So we were looking for that calling card. And so we originally called it City Made of Snow. That was the original title. I thought it was a good name.
Yeah.
Inspired in no small part by Max Mermelstein's book, The Man Who Made It Snow.
Yes.
And because we were interviewing characters, a lot of people from that
John
story.
Roberts,
Mickey Monday. A lot. We were talking about Rafa and Griselda. A lot of people that were very much in Max Mermelstein's orbit, and so we kind of borrowed that title as our temporary working title, City Made of Snow. And then during the production, we were like, maybe we need a title change here.
A shorter, catchy.
Yeah, which I feel like City Made of Snow is a little bit more of a loftier kind of highbrow title, and we were very much.
Did you hear the name Cocaine Cowboys at that point or no?
Oh yeah, because all of the
It was in the interviews because people would mention it because it was tagged to us,
and it was in the archive. So all the So we went to the Wolfson, Florida Moving Image Archive, which is housed now at Miami-Dade College downtown, and we started getting VHS tapes. You remember VHS tapes?
Absolutely.
VHS tapes of old local news footage, and we would sit and watch it. And we were editing in my apartment at the Jockey Club. Speaking
Wow.
of old Miami shit.
That's up in Biscayne, right?
Yeah, Cocaine Biscayne and 111th Street, and that was a party spot back in the day. It was a private club, and we were watching this footage, and Cocaine Cowboys kept coming up again and again.
Well, the common theme was everybody who sold cocaine wore cowboy boots. That was it. I had like 4 or 5 pairs of cowboy boots, and it was just like, if you didn't have cowboy boots, you just weren't in the business.
And there was, of course, when the violence broke out, there was a certain wild West, Dodge City kind of quality, unfortunately, to the violence. And so it all just, the Cocaine Cowboys thing stuck. And we're working on it, and we're like, okay, well, this seems like a more... Because that's the thing, too, is that we were trying to figure out what we wanted our style to be. And one of the things that a friend later coined our style of nonfiction films as pop docs. And which is to say that not only our subject matter but the style we adopt to tell these stories tends to be a little bit pulpier, a little cooler. And so when we were making a documentary, we were like, well, this isn't like the kind of documentary where you were a kid and the teacher would card in the projector and you're like, oh, okay, well, at least we don't have to. At least she's not going to talk. We're just going to watch.
We wanted to create a new style.
Yeah, we said well, what would Martin Scorsese do if Martin Scorsese were making a documentary? What would Quentin Tarantino do if Quentin Tarantino would make a documentary? Because that was kind of our thing. We're like, well, we wanted to be to Miami documentary filmmaking, what Martin Scorsese or Spike Lee were to New York, or what Barry Levinson was to Baltimore, John Waters even was to Baltimore, and what Richard Linklater or Robert Rodriguez
or
were
John
to Austin.
Hughes.
Yeah, we wanted to be associated with, and like Shyamalan's Philly, we wanted to rep our town and tell stories. And also, Miami was an incredible untapped resource of characters and stories. As Tony Montana would say, it was a great big ready to be you-know-whatted. So we felt that, and we wanted to tap into that resource. And then we wanted to say we didn't want this to be a documentary. We wanted this to be a gangster movie. So where we kind of in terms of character and
morality. So you told a story besides just your basic boring documentary. You had some life to it.
And not black and white, meaning like it's not like good guys, bad guys. It's like, well, morality is gray. And Miami is the ultimate gray, the ultimate gray area, because it's almost impossible to do anything legit here. We have a little white market, we have a big black market, and mostly we have a gray market. Yeah. That's mostly where people exist, is in the gray here. So we wanted to kind of play in the gray sandbox.
Because it all meshes.
It all meshes, and also it's hard here to do anything legit, because even when you try to, people give you a lot of shit for it. The government is tough, and you're just like, well, fuck this. You almost have no choice but to kind of cut corners and do. Like, I don't blame people for having to kind of skirt the rules or do their best, because it's a hard town to get along. It's like to get along in. So it's like we wanted to kind of celebrate that and just be like, listen, a lot of Miami is gray, and it's not just such a hard line of black or like good guys, bad guys, black hat, white hat. A lot of people exist and thrive, in fact, in this gray area, and that doesn't make them bad people.
Right. No, because we have good and bad in all families. Of course. There's police officers that have brothers that are in the business. It's just, you can't.
Police officers that are in the business.
I didn't want to say that.
I'll say that. I mean, what are you talking?
Boop. But so when that happened, that takes place, you get those, it's a very fulfilling moment, because being from Miami, having these dreams, accomplishing and putting out a great story, and it turned out really, really well.
Thank you.
And I congratulate you and Alfred and the boys. And it represented Miami, was like, wow, this is really cool the way you guys did it. To this day, people say to me, in film business, they'll say, kind of like Billy, they'll say it's now become a term,
That's very flattering.
Yeah.
We certainly saw, we did a lot of things at that time that nobody was doing in nonfiction. The camera was constantly moving.
Right.
Nobody really did that. Nobody had sort of jibs or dollies on. No one was moving. Interviews, you'd lock shit down and you did an interview. So we brought that kinetic kind of cinematic energy to an interview. I'm like, just because it's a talking head doesn't mean that it can't be dynamic, that we can't have it. And I wanted that constant motion. We also, the average feature has approximately 1,500 cuts in it. Cocaine Cowboys, the original, has 5,000 shots in an hour and 59 minutes. So it's just constantly. Boom. And here's a funny thing. I don't know if I've ever talked about this, but we were using one of the earliest versions of Apple's Final Cut Pro.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so it could not handle the size of this project.
Wow.
And we were mixing media, so we had different frame rates, because we had every source imaginable in Cocaine Cowboys. It was like an Oliver Stone 90s movie. There was Super 16, 8mm film, 35, we had VHS. We had Beta SP, we had digital,
the archives.
And so you'd throw this shit in to Final Cut Pro, and it was like, go fuck yourself. They were just like, it would. We had a screening at the Miami Film Festival. It was supposed to be a work in progress screening. It was classic My Dog Ate My Homework. We could not liberate the movie from the machine. We could not output. Every time we would attempt to output, it would crash.
Yeah.
And then we'd have to restart. And we could not get the movie off of the computer. It was crazy, because you'd have to render everything out. It wasn't automatic render on the fly. And the movie and the Final Cut Pro was just we are not, this is not what this was built for yet. It was just too soon. So we just wanted it to feel like you were on cocaine, when you were watching it. And I've never done cocaine somehow. I talked about this with Joe Rogan. Joe's like, I've never done it either. I'm like, could you imagine us on cocaine? You'd have to scrape us off the fucking ceiling with a shovel if we were on cocaine. Our hearts would explode under the fucking table, So, but when I finally met someone who I identified, I'm like, this person is on cocaine.
Yeah.
I realized they start one sentence but finish another. That's kind of the vibe. So I wanted Cocaine Cowboys to just feel like that, like that kind of vibe. So, and then here's the payoff, is that in because of that weird frame rate issue with Final Cut Pro, very few of the cuts landed where I wanted them to. Everything was kind of off by a frame or two, which, by the way, to this day, I'll watch a scene, I'll be like, that's off a frame.
You'll notice it.
I'll know, I'll be like, we're at a single frame or two, and I'll be like, you're right, we're at a half a frame. I'm like, I know, but, so basically, the original Cocaine Cowboys, in a way, was sort of fucked up. But
only you noticed that.
Only I know, but it contributed to this vibe of we've never sort of seen or felt anything like this before. And it was, in a way, it was like a happy a happy accident. It was a bit of alchemy.
I thought it came out great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And the biggest thing about it was you created a style that's very engaging for a genre that was very dull. You know? So people watching, they're like, they don't stop watching, right?
Well, that was the goal. Well, you can't, because it's like, that's why I said, like, you start one sentence, you finish another. There's always something new happening faster, and then it also lent itself to repeated viewings, because people would miss shit because you were still kind of processing or reacting or laughing to something that somebody said, and you'd miss like the next bite or two.
Right.
So then you'd go back and have to watch it again, and that was really interesting. Like the first cut of Cocaine Cowboys was like 4 hours long. It was crazy long. And then it came out. It was not very popular when it came out.
Yeah.
Nobody really wanted to. We pitched it around to everybody because of our Sundance success, we could get meetings with everybody and we could pitch everybody. Nobody wanted it.
Wow.
Nobody got it. Nobody wanted to buy it. So we went out and just raised money, pounded the pavement, went out and made it on our own, and then went to the Tribeca Film Festival with it in 2006. And then nobody wanted it, except for Tom Quinn, who was working at Magnolia, Mark Cuban's distribution company that he and his brother owned, Todd. And they wanted it. And Tom saw something in it. He's like, oh, this is like the future of documentaries. That was his thinking. And for a moment, I mean, I think he was right in the long run, but as the famous economist said, in the long run, we're all dead.
Right.
So like in the short term, it was not a very good decision. Because what happened is we discovered in 2006, we were shooting a show called a YouTube series. Can you imagine? YouTube launched in like 2005, and we're like, oh, we should do content for YouTube. That's what we thought of. And so we partnered up with a New Zealand vodka company, and they financed this web series called Clubland, and we were documenting the opening of Mokai and Quattro.
Gotcha.
That's what we were doing. We were kind of embedded with those guys and trying to... Now, it wasn't a reality show, meaning they weren't contractually obligated. It was a documentary series, meaning we had to kind of chase them down sometimes, because when bad shit was happening, they were like, we don't want the cameras. But we would like run down there. So, and it was fun, and it was really interesting just to see the experience of what it's like to open. And that was the era where like the FBI was in Miami Beach, where they were busting. They were busting like
the prostitution.
They were busting like code enforcement guys and fire marshal guys at Starbucks with paper bags full of cash. Like, so to watch like this happen, and watch the expediter work, watch them try to like figure out like all the like how to open a nightclub in South Beach is very fucking hard.
Yeah,
I mean,
hard.
And very expensive.
Parking impact fee. Hello.
It's outrageous.
Permits,
and then
insurance.
different inspectors have different interpretations of the same code. And oh, this sink has to be 6 inches higher. The next guy comes in and says, what are you doing? This sink has to be 6 inches lower. And then you negotiate and you settle for $5,000 cash in a paper bag. So anyway, that's just how shit rolls.
South Beach.
It makes because Miami. But like we were doing that, and then we discovered a guy who worked at our office on Lincoln Road came over and said, I just got my hair cut in Miami Gardens. And I walked in, and they had, it's like one of these long strip mall kind of, haircut barbershops. He goes, they had 2 TVs connected to 1 DVD player, and they were playing Cocaine Cowboys on a loop. This hadn't come out yet, mind you. We were still in post-production. And it was like right around the time it was going to premiere at Tribeca.
How did they get it?
Well, that's the fucking question, right?
Wow.
So we're like, wait a second. How are they watching Coke? So he asked them, and he goes, oh, we got it at the Flea. And they're like, what?
Hialeah Flea Market?
Carroll City. The Carroll Mart, right up the street in Miami Gardens.
Gotcha.
In Carroll City.
183rd.
So we went to Carroll Mart, went to the Flea, and there was these 2 guys at the bootleg table selling bootleg DVDRs, on the spindles and everything. And turns out Cocaine Cowboys was their hottest seller. It was so popular that they came up with a fake sequel that they with their Sharpie, they wrote Cocaine Cowboys 2, which was an MSNBC documentary about killing Pablo that they based that. So they're like, okay, so we needed to create a sequel because it's fucking selling.
Clever guy.
That's our job.
By the way, they lost count. they had sold. They were like, we don't know, 5,000-10,000.
Wow.
So it was like this viral phenomenon. In like you could buy it from the guy in the Walmart parking lot, in a strip club bathroom, everywhere the DVD-R guy had.
That's
had
awesome.
It was so we're like, well, awesome.
Not for you.
We're not making fucking money.
They're making all the money. Not you.
So we're,
Very Miami.
Yeah.
so we're like, well, what the hell do we
Cut
do?
us in.
We're like, what the hell do we do? So we decided, you know what? We got this crew out in the field working with Clubland, with Kareem, rest in peace, and all these guys, Nicola, Lindley, like all these guys that were opening Mokai and Quattro together. And sometimes the crews would only work half days. So I'm like, you know what? Go to the flea market. Because in those days, like, that was when, like, Metallica started suing Napster, and, like, there was, like, a big crackdown. And we're like, well, wait a second. We're not going to sue a barbershop or a fucking flea market table. And also, these are our fans, because these are, these folks
They're showing you your potential.
Yeah, they're not stealing it because they hate it. They're stealing it because they love it.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, why don't we go do a web series we called it Streets of Miami, the Cocaine Cowboys Phenomenon. And we went to the barbershop, we went to the flea market, we interviewed these guys about their favorite scenes, how they got turned on to it, how popular it is.
Genius.
And then we got calls from Noriega and Pitbull and Cool and Dre and Khaled. All these guys were like, oh no, we want to do a Streets of Miami episode because we're the guys that put everybody onto this. And it went quote-unquote viral at a time you couldn't really do that.
Wow.
So we basically had celebrity-endorsed ads for the documentary, and then it took off, and there was stories about the boot. Everybody thought we bootlegged it, by the way. I wish that we had been so, because they thought, oh, you're street teaming it, right?
Yeah.
We're like, I wish, because we would have made at least a few dollars. So Cocaine Cowboys is it's a cult classic, and if you don't know the definition of a cult classic is a movie that everybody's seen and it hasn't made any money. Right. That's what a cult. That's a cult classic.
Yeah.
But
like
I always
Swingers.
say exactly. I always say the measure of a successful filmmaker is, it's not money and it's not awards and it's not critical acclaim. It's that you get to work again.
Yeah.
So to me, the ultimate success is that we are now on our 5th Cocaine Cowboys title in the franchise. And that's really all you want. You don't want to sit around, and gone are the days anywhere where you do like one hit song and then you can kind of coast on the royalties or whatever. Right. You got to keep working, and we love to work. So
Miami's
you have
full
a great
of
franchise. It's just genius.
And Miami's full of a lot of untold stories.
Tons. Yeah, absolutely.
Every day. You and I have spoken about some recently.
Absolutely.
So many stories, and they're just untold. And so Miami's...
Yeah, because Miami has a class of people that they take it to the grave.
Yeah.
They do. I've had so many personal friends of mine that I say, please give me an interview. Yeah. And they're like,
Well, a lot of guys got away with a lot of shit is the thing, too.
Yeah.
So it's like, why bring it up now? Because so many people went legit with the dirty money.
Yeah.
They were able to clean it into mostly real estate. And
if the camera turns around and looks that way, you'll see the results of all the cocaine money.
You will.
Yeah, I was speaking to one of those guys yesterday. He has not been on anything yet, but everybody knows he's part of it. And the way he was talking to me is so beautiful, because I'm listening to him going, man, I wish I could tell this story, but I have to get his permission first, right? So I wait, and he's telling me, he's like, but you know what? We'll do this, Angelo, and I'll say this, and we'll talk about this. And I'm like, okay, cool. I go, but that little story you said over there, that story was pretty good. And he's like, not yet. Somebody's still alive, or somebody's still there, So it's interesting how that happens. Why do you think, Billy, Miami's ranked or talked about as the #1 city?
The #1 city for what?
Whether it's a destination, whether it's hospitality, whether it's hotels,
I think it's very simple, and it's one of my favorite
tourism. Everybody wants to come
sayings.
here.
It's one of my favorite sayings. It's L.A. is where you go when you want to be somebody. New York is where you go when you are somebody, and Miami is where you go when you want to be somebody else.
Yes. Oh, somebody else.
It's always been a sunny place for shady people.
Yeah. Because you can reinvent yourself here.
Right. In New England, it's always like, what's your name? Who's your daddy? Who's your legacy? Where are you from? Are you old money? Everyone's nouveau riche in Miami. So no one gives a shit as long as the champagne is flowing, the bar's open, the checks are clearing. Nobody's like, well, where is this money coming from?
They don't want to see a resume.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. So that vibe, Miami, it's America's Casablanca.
Yeah.
So and in that way, we're sort of not judgmental either. So it becomes very welcoming. Well, one might say permissive, but also very welcoming. And you find more often than not that people come here because they can't necessarily, well, they're running from something,
right,
or hiding from something, or they couldn't get away with something where they were, or they couldn't buy the government they wanted to buy where they were.
Well
and
said.
so they come here, and and,
everything is for sale.
Yeah, and it's and I exactly, and that, by the way, that's not an insult. I think that's just an observation.
That's capitalism.
Yeah, and you have to. Well, I don't know about that because it's not exactly free market. It's
right.
It's crony capitalism,
Yeah.
maybe. It's an oligarchy, perhaps. It's a friends and family plan.
Well, that's
I
why it's
think,
important
but-
when you come in here and open up a business. You have to include the locals. You have to include us, or it's just not going to fly.
Yeah, no, you don't want to. You don't want to be that first schmuck in. That carpetbagger who's coming in to sink a bunch of money into a space. You're going to.
But
give
all
up
through
that
the
key
90s,
quick.
that's all we saw. Club after club after club would open up. You'd go for the year, and then the summertime we didn't have it. Wasn't consistent during the summer, and they couldn't last the summer.
So here's a great. This is again it's been 100 years since the first land boom of 1925, where guys were like buying in the morning and doubling their money in the afternoon. I mean, and
we had the hurricane
and
that
selling
dropped.
swampland, and doing all that shit. And so there was a great scam back in the 50s and 60s, and sort of the golden age of the hotels, the Fontainebleau and the Eden Rock. And so what would happen is that people would come down from the Northeast, let's say like a firefighter with a pension and a little bit of a nest egg, right? And the dream was, I'm going to retire to Miami Beach and buy a hotel, and I'm going to live out and live in the hotel and retire in that. So they would come down. So there'd be realtors or brokers that would specialize in this, that would go find buyers who would say, okay, and the owners of the hotels would self-finance. So they'd be like, listen, give me this amount of money down, and then this money per month, which you'll generate no problem on flipping the rooms over and booking the rooms. And so these guys would move down in like April. Right.
Yeah. When it's
you know where this is going.
Yeah.
They put the first month the security deposit, whatever, and whatever they'd have to do, and every month they're paying out of their nest egg. They're paying out of their savings, the mortgage that the owner is self financing, and they're like, well, there's nobody here, and they're like, oh, don't worry. The line was, for whatever reason, when the kids are back in school in the fall. That didn't mean anything. That was just a line that they would say, like, what the fuck would that change your fate for? So week after week and month after month, occupancy is zero. And these guys are paying out of pocket. And invariably, by October, they're done.
Yeah.
They're flatlined.
Yeah.
And they're zero. And they would turn the key back over because it
and
was
then
owned
season would come, and then landlord makes all the money.
And the owner and then
you
rinse and repeat.
You flip it during the summer.
You flip it to some poor schmuck from the Northeast during the summer.
What were the years? This was like what, 30s, 40s, 50s?
This is like post-war. Post-World War, like late 40s into the 50s, just into the where there was like plenty of these kind of places that were around and that were available, and now it's unfathomable.
Novak bought the Fontainebleau, I think, around that time, right?
It's when Miami Beach was like it became the dream, because it has to be before the sale. Because what happens in the mid 1950s, what happens is there's the advent of central AC to cool shit down, and DDT to kill the skeeters. Because we're a fucking swamp. Let's face it. It's all swampland. Listen, Miami Beach is reclaimed wetlands, and someday the wetlands will reclaim us. I'll have you know, we are sinking. So, irregardless, we would. That's when Miami became the hotspot, because you could live here or stay here kind of year round. It was still a seasonal town, but it was so much more inhabitable.
A lot of homes, if you look, they still have them today, from south all the way to north, with chimneys. They literally thought that you would need it down here. You didn't need it down.
What do they know?
But it's good architectural design.
You have to be here a couple of years before you're like, oh, this is not going to be a problem. But that was what was. And then, since then, Florida has had on average 1,000 new arrivals every single day. So 365,000 people on average would come to Florida every single year since the mid-1950s. What kind of changed that a little, it was still true through the 70s, but what happened in by the late 60s, early 70s, you had the advent of jet travel, which enabled Americans to go a little further on vacation than Miami Beach, and you were like hitting the station wagon. And then the people who were hitting the holiday road, Disney World opened.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so you had this dragnet like in the middle of the state that families never got as far as Miami Beach anymore, which kind of led to that depressed era of the late 70s into the early 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it did get dilapidated. Yeah.
Dilapidated. Yeah, it went from this golden age
Until
into
Michael Mann saw it, and he brought the Miami Beach, brought Miami Vice, and it's just like, we'll just paint the facades of the building, the rest was
gorgeous.
It was eye candy.
And
Scarface.
And
Yeah,
Scarface,
Scarface, yeah.
and you really, I think the first thing was like in what is it, 81, 82, Bruce Weber and the Calvin Klein obsession
The modeling.
shoot.
Yes.
And going atop the Breakwater
Yeah,
Hotel
yes.
Yeah.
and saying like, well, listen, if you have four
Art Deco.
corners of the frame, and if I frame over here, these this shit is gorgeous.
Yeah.
You put beautiful people in front of this beautiful
Naked.
foreground and background.
They're
A little
naked.
too young, a little too unclothed, and you're gonna have this. And that's what really put Miami on the map.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, this is. We
Yeah.
can put models up on Ocean Drive for
Location.
$130 a week at
Yes.
these old
Yeah.
hotels, and you're like, we could have a whole thing here. And then the next thing you know, the renaissance of the late '80s and the early '90s happens here.
Yeah,
It's
one of the
amazing.
people I interviewed said you could spit in any direction and you hit a model.
It was I think per square foot, just the most beautiful people anywhere
Hands
in the
down.
world. And you watch Birdcage, and it's a little bit exaggerated, the Ocean Drive shots, but that's kind of what Ocean Drive looked like.
Yeah.
It was the most beautiful women and men you've ever seen in your
Miami
life.
Vice
It
would
was
show a lot of that
crazy.
in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miami Vice was a little more dilapidated, but by
Yeah.
the time you get to the mid-'90s, like The Specialist and Bad Boys and
Something About Mary.
and there's something about Mary
Yeah.
and especially the Birdcage, like that's kind of
Fast
how
and
it
Furious
was.
and Bad Boys and
It
all
was
that.
gorgeous, too fast, too
Yeah.
furious.
Yes. And Nicholson, Jack Nicholson had a film here.
Blood and Wine.
Blood and Wine. There you go.
He was staying up in this gorgeous house they were renting for him up in Golden Beach.
Yeah.
And that's where Madonna was hitchhiking naked for the sex book.
Yep.
Back in the day. I mean, like there was
that
so
big
many
silver book.
Yeah, that gorgeous book, and that was iconic. Madonna naked hitchhiking on A1A in Golden Beach.
On that, what are some of the iconic personalities, celebrities, moments in time in Miami that you say, looking back now, like, wow, this changed the game? And you added some right there in the beginning there. But what are some that you can think of? Was it Versace? Was it film? Was it, the nightlife? What are things that you think, maybe those islands where the artist Christos did the pink?
Oh, God. Yeah, the Cristo Islands, the pink wrap. I think when Miami became this kind of international city, when people identified, because at first there wasn't local celebrities. At first it was outside celebrities who came here, who then people suddenly cared. And it was a great place. Like when we had Bella Rose, which Alfred Spellman and I opened with Keith Pacello. It was his place, but he wanted to go solo, and he wanted to open his own spot. Because, guys at night, like,
I had my 49th birthday there. Did you really? Yeah, I got all my tattoos of hearts on my chest.
I love it. That was like the birthday spot.
Yeah.
It was a great club, and it was.
And Keith is a great guy.
Yes.
He's
Keith
creative
Pacello.
and he's smart and
Brother Chris.
He did it so well, and we had such a good time. I mean, we opened in April of '08, which means we're like months away from the Great Recession, which is not a great time to open a new spot. But it became like kind of like a Lower East Side. It was like the chill either pregame or like when you were done.
It was the perfect size, though.
Perfect.
It wasn't hard to fill, and it was all the locals went there because it was all the love.
And then all these great celebrities who were like, well, I don't want to see and be seen anymore. Like you do live, and you're like, well, now where do we go? They would
Stallone,
come.
Sting,
fucking awesome. And because at that
De
time
Niro.
there wasn't a lot of paparazzi.
No.
You had like a few.
That's all recent.
That's all recent, and so people would come here to kind of lie low.
Yeah.
And that was why you had these people coming who, I mean, when Planet Hollywood opened, I know
Yeah.
it sounds ridiculous,
Bruce
but that was a big fucking deal when
It
that
was.
happened.
It
in the
Grove.
Grove. And it was one of the, I think it was their highest grossing store. But Cheesecake Factory in the Grove, when it was there, was the highest grossing cheesecake factory. Remember Two Tango?
Yes, one of my favorites, Two Tango.
I painted there.
Tango was
Yeah.
great.
It was a radical happy
Howl
hour.
at the Moon.
It was wild, and
Howl
that
at
was
the
that was
Moon.
my intro. Howl at the Moon, the
Dan
dueling
Marino's.
pianos, and the Moe's Cantina,
Moe's Cantina.
and
I did their logo.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
But we like Two Two Tango was where I was first introduced to tapas.
Yeah.
Was it Two
Yeah,
Two Tango?
Yes.
that was Brad
And it was
Weiser.
an art. They would do art there.
Yeah. there was
Brad
artists.
Weiser and Jonathan Lewis. They own Two Tangos.
So I didn't realize, but tapas, if you don't know, is a Spanish word that means $96 and still hungry. I don't know if you know.
So get a few.
Snacks.
So get a few and
Wait
share.
a second. Why am I still? We just had appetizers. It's $500 later. I'm starving. But we had a great time, and I was unfortunately I was of an era where I missed the great Grove, like the Mutiny, like Suzanne's Hunting for the Bears, like I missed that era. Faces, I missed that, and then of course before that was like the comedy clubs and the folk singers, and like and Steve Martin is performing there, and Joni Mitchell.
I mean,
and,
going back, even Jim Morrison,
David Crosby, and Jimmy. Like it was just I missed. Sometimes I feel like I was born in the wrong
generation,
in the wrong era. Yeah, but that was an amazing place, an amazing time.
Billy, as a Miami guy, as a filmmaker, when you look back, any moment in time that you were somewhere in Miami, let's use nightlife for example, and you went to a party, whether it was Ocean Drive or a club or something, you got invited somewhere. It may have not been your thing at the time because you had these dreams and aspirations as a filmmaker, but I'm sure you tapped in. You mentioned some earlier. Any place you remember that you walked into and you looked around, you're like, it's like a movie. Like, this is Miami. Like, this is Miami.
Okay, I'm gonna tell. This is. I mean, in the 90s every day. And the 90s, it was fun because it was very much like the Miami Hurricanes in the 80s, which we later made a documentary about. The 90s in Miami felt like a movie. It felt like you were living history. Oftentimes you have to live, and then you look back and you go, that was incredible.
Sundays comes to mind when you said that. Sundays came to my mind on Key Biscayne.
Oh, yeah.
Because we had every cigarette boat was there, and everybody was where you showed up.
There was one in Hullover, too, wasn't there?
Yeah.
And Shooters
Yeah.
at the on the Intracoastal there. I think it was like Duffy's Now or something there. And what was it? There was a club right there in that same Intracoastal mall. It was a funny club that like radio stations would go, what was it called? It was started with a P. Shit, I'm having a brain fart. Oh my God! So, and people are listening, going like, "You idiot!" It's the but it was like it was this funny club, but it was like one of like Y100 would like live from there.
It wasn't on Biscayne on US1 or
it was and I'm like it was
across Solid Gold or something.
It was the
BDs.
No,
it was something like that.
It was like sort of like what Cafe Iguana was
right.
But it was
or
like the Miami. It was like the Miami equivalent of that. Exactly, it was one of those. It'll come to me if I stop thinking about it. But like everywhere you went in Miami, we would hang out at the News Cafe. We'd go to the front porch.
Yep.
We would go there
Ocean Drive.
on Ocean Drive. And that was a time when locals would go, like regularly.
Yep.
We'd like hang out at Ocean Drive.
Lincoln Road.
We would go to Lincoln Road. We'd go. There was a cinema, like the Astor Cinema was there. The Books and Books was there. There was a lot of cool
cigar shops.
It was great.
The clothing, what do you call those stores? The vintage clothing stores.
Clothing, and then you had the era where things started, like Animal Farm opened on
Don Busweiler.
On Collins. Yes. Like there was like cool. It was changing, but it was still cool. It was still cool. Local and indie, and
there was no cell phone to take pictures
pervert
or
clothing.
Pervert. Yes, that's right. My God, but like everywhere you went so we were shooting something in the summer, and we were at 97 into 98, and we were at the Eden Rock. They let us film in the back. Like they had like a basketball court back there. We were filming back there, and we had a sound. This is funny. Never told this story. We had a boom operator. So there was a manhunt underway in Miami Beach at the time, you may recall, for Andrew Cunanan, who had just murdered Versace on Ocean Drive. And we had a sound mixer, and then we had a boom operator. The boom op kind of looked like Andrew Cunanan. There was like this passing reference to the passing resemblance rather to Andrew Cunanan, and we would like joke kind of behind his back, like, oh, we could get Cunanan to come over with the boom, right? And so we would. So here's the thing: we were at the Eden Rock filming. Do you remember where Andrew Cunanan was
across
at the time?
street?
He was across the fucking street
on the
in the
boathouse.
house. He was in the houseboat at the same fucking time. So like days later that we were there. They stormed the houseboat, and then he killed himself, right? But like we were directly across
filming,
the
right
street,
there.
filming, joking about hanging out with Andrew Cunanan because the guy kind of looked like him. It was creepy. It was, but like again, everything was a movie,
right?
And there were movie sets everywhere you go.
Everywhere you go.
Arnold Schwarzenegger was shooting True Lies downtown, and Sharon Stone was shooting The Specialist at the Fontainebleau.
Not The Mask. What's the other one of the Ace Detective?
Ace Ventura, Pet Detective with Dan Marino for crying out.
Yeah.
It was like the 90s was such an exciting
Bad
time.
Boys, Bad Boys 1, Bad Boys 2.
Yeah, I mean Michael Bay's
Bay.
Citizen Kane, in my opinion.
Yes.
Bad Boys is his first and best. I love that movie because I remember the first time I talked to Michael. I said to him, I have to thank you and fuck you for two things. I said, first, I'm like, 1995, I'll never forget going to see Bad Boys. I saw it at Sunset Place, which I would later see the third movie at Sunset Place, which I loved. And I was with a buddy of mine from high school, and we were watching, and the opening credits. Remember, we had spent our whole lives watching opening credit sequences with the skyline of Manhattan and Chicago and L.A. and Seattle and Toronto. But now, for the first time,
Miami.
This gorgeous opening credit sequence of the skyline of downtown Miami. And what's incredible about it, and I said this to him because it means a lot to me, I thanked him because that was the last time that downtown Miami looked like that.
Wow.
Like that we remember.
Yeah, so it's documented.
That was the last time that, and we actually went. What I said, what I was upset about is that he made Miami so sepia toned, which to me, like that orange kind of tint, which to me is very LA because of the smog.
Right.
But Miami to me is white. Like in Cocaine Cowboys, we had we blew it out with white skies. We faded to white. We did to me, this is
it's bright.
Right, it's not orange or right,
or
so
grimy or anything.
Right, exactly. Like there's schmutz on the cat. But that skyline, and we later went. For Cocaine Cowboys, we went to Sony Columbia's archive, and we used a few. They had their B team or C team who did the aerials of
the big
for Bad
Bank.
Boys, the gorgeous shots that they did for Bad. So we licensed a few of those. The SunTrust building. We licensed a few of those shots for the end of Cocaine Cowboys because I just wanted to draw that connection.
The Diplomat, remember?
Oh my God, dude.
On the river where Epic Hotel
the
is.
Everglades Hotel was right there in
the
this
Miami River.
and you had the copper
From
tone
the
girl
James
on the
Center.
side, with the dog pulling her panties down. Totally inappropriate, mind
So
you. But
different. And there were still some other homes in that area. There's still one there now.
But a dog was
the
doing
one,
it.
the one holdout. The dog. Yeah,
Dog's doing it, so it's okay.
that's right. That makes it okay.
So Billy,
not Diddy. So whatever.
Oh, what's up with Diddy?
Got any baby oil? What are you doing?
So check it out. What's one word? If I was to say to you, Billy, describe Miami to me, how would you describe it in one word?
Unstable. No. I think similar, but not my thesaurus. It's transformative. And what's funny about it is that for a while Miami was such a small town. Everybody knew and there's still pockets of that here, but now more than ever, you look at neighborhoods of Miami and they are not, they're not the same. It's not. When I say not the same, I mean it's not just businesses come and go, but the people are different. And I don't know that that's a good or bad thing. It just that's what it is. We've always had this kind of transient population and lack of institutional memory, and that to us was the big kind of gulf in the marketplace that we wanted to fill, which is Miami has this rich and colorful history. We are one of the youngest major cities
in the world.
in America, and we're kind of America's perpetual belligerent adolescent because adolescents don't. We just want the new shit. Give me the new shit. Give me the we don't give a shit about history or nostalgia. It's just give me the money is in knocking. The money isn't in preservation. The money's in knocking shit down, redesigning, rebuilding, rebribing. Everybody to build the new.
Yeah,
shit.
that game still goes.
Well, Miami is the capital of Central and South America.
Yeah.
If you live in Central and South America and you don't have a house in Miami, you're a nobody.
They say the great thing about Miami is it's so close to the United States. That's the great. But there's that. And by the way, this is again, it's not a judgment. It's just this is what it is. The business, the industry is transformation. And that's true of people. That's true of property. That's just the vibe.
Do you see the film industry coming back to Miami?
No, I don't. I don't even really know what the film industry is anymore.
Yeah.
This is the film industry.
Yeah.
Podcast
streaming,
podcasts, YouTube, TikTok, IG, social. This is the future of media and entertainment. And so to that end, sure. I mean, it's it's a beautiful place. I mean, there's a reason Miami is the OnlyFans capital of America. Wow. There are more content creators here than Vegas, than LA, than any place else. That's exactly the reason.
We got a lot of hungry, pretty girls that are hungry.
Not? Like, why would you?
Make sure you sign
here?
up for Selby Film Festival for digital content challenge.
May 15th to the 18th,
OnlyFans
2025.
Live. OnlyFans Live, baby.
So Billy, what's your favorite Cuban word? You know, Miami's a lot of Cubans. Give me your favorite Cuban slang, figure of speech word that you still use today or that you love using. You did one with me.
Botalita. Botalita.
Botalita.
1,000 times. Botalita. 1,000. Because what? I mean, come on. Come on.
Botalita.
Come on. Come on. I mean, seriously?
What's yours, Bobby?
Oh, I don't have one.
Arroz con mango? That's a pretty solid one,
coño is still pretty good.
I say arroz con man bros is what I say. That's why everybody came during the pandemic. The arroz con man bros from Silicon Valley.
What do you got coming up new with all your work that you want to share?
Oh, yeah. Let's plug some shit, huh?
Yeah.
We're doing a play.
Okay.
On Lincoln, we did Confessions
I heard about
Cocaine Cowboys back in 2019, and we're doing a show called Lincoln Road Hustle with Miami New Drama outside it's awesome. Lincoln Road is the stage. You come to this. Everybody shows up. You got headphones on. You're outside at the 1100 block. Wow. You know, there's like that built-in stage on the cobblestone block where the theater and where Burrito is.
I saw some ads about it.
Yeah. So Lincoln Road Hustle. You come out there, and it's the ceremonial groundbreaking of De Leon, which is they're going to level the entire 1100 block of Lincoln Road and build a 75-story luxury hotel condo and Miami Beach's first legal casino with Vegas-style gaming. Wow. 2 stories, 150,000 square feet, right there on Lincoln Road and Alton. Of course, that's bullshit. That's just what the show's about. And so that's what
you had me there.
I was like perfectly reasonable, you know. But that's what the show's about. So the guy's out there, De Leon, and he's pumping it up, and you're at this like press conference, and then you break up into little groups and you walk around Lincoln Road, and there's actors doing short scenes all over Lincoln Road. You sit at Isabella's, and but everything's open. People are walking around. The restaurants are open, but you just walk around Lincoln Road.
Live theatrics.
It's crazy,
right?
and because Lincoln Road's the stage, you kind of like all the actors are like on a wire without a net because if crazy people come by or want to heckle or make a scene, but it's a great night out in Miami. There's a bar right in the middle, so you drink, you walk around, and you just watch. It's a lot of fun. Lincoln
Almost
Road
like
Hustle.
a flash mob type of thing, right?
It's fun. Well, I mean, it's
in
a little
the sense
more
that
staged.
it's live.
Yeah, it's a little more staged than that because obviously we wrote it and there's script, but like that's the thing in Miami. It's like the weather is so gorgeous this season. Yeah. You don't want to be like inside a theater for 2 hours. You just you literally just walk around Lincoln Road and you watch a scene, another scene, and then the audience comes together again at the end, and all the characters and stories come together in like this batshit funny kind of way, and it's just like a great stress-free. That's the thing. Like in Miami, you need a night out, right? So it's like this is just a great night out, and then you go out to dinner on Lincoln Road and you have a good time. Lincoln Road Hustle.
Quick question. I'll go really quick with these. What's your favorite or best restaurant in Miami historically or now or throughout the years? What's one that stands out that you remember that's some people say The Forge, some people say Osteria.
Well, certainly The Forge and certainly Joe's and certainly Prime 112 and there's the places that are just like legendary and perennial. And then I think there were just great restaurants, like Chrysanthemum, which was right here on Washington. That later moved to the Grove.
What was the guy who owned that?
He was the sweetest guy.
Oh, like Joseph or something. He was
the
just
sweetest guy.
Yes, he'd walk.
And he was there every night.
Yes,
worked his ass off, like like
Washington and 13th.
It was right here, and it was like Thai food, Asian, and like fusion, and it was delicious every single, very unpretentious, easy to get into, but like just an amazing experience every time. I think Jeffrey's. Which was later Magnum Lounge. He moved up to 79th Street, which was right on Michigan and Lincoln. Like gone but not forgotten. Just reliable. That was the thing about South Beach. Like some places are a scene, and some places are just a great meal and a great experience and great service where you just feel like this is what Miami could be or should be. And that's what The Forge was too. You just felt like you were being hosted. You felt like you were eating in like someone's beautiful living room. Like you just felt that, and so for me, and I just, me now, I like dives. I like chill. I don't like trendy spots. I like chill fun places where you could just go, like Sanguich, like Blue Collar, like just like diner fun, but like Miami people, like
Yeah.
owned and operated
Yeah.
by Miami people. But that, Babes down in Pinecrest.
Yep.
Have you ever been to the?
Yep.
Like they have like an incredible Cuban sandwich and
the
butcher
Grove
shop.
now. The Grove now has a lot of great new places. It's got
The Grove is crazy. The problem is like there's a lot of like New York places like
Yeah.
opening up there, and they're kind of pushing out some of the more
the mom and pops, the
and
locals.
like the locals, and there's a few people that are like Beltran. There's a few people who are like local guys that are making a real go of it, but it's hard. Achana's,
Yeah.
which it was the old green building on South Dixie on US
Right.
1. Back in the day, it was the best Thai food in Miami. They were briefly in the lobby of the Mutiny, and now they're at Achana's. It's the best Thai food in Miami, right on the
I
corner
needed
there.
to know that because I've been looking for the best Thai. I'm going to go Ochana's.
Achana's. Like
Achana's.
Achana. Yeah, like that. Achana's, yeah.
Quick question: what are your 5 top nightlife venues in Miami history that you mentioned some earlier? Just give your top 5.
Oh, shit. In any order, though? Can
Any
I do
order.
it? Yeah.
Any order, any year.
Level.
I
I liked, as much as it pissed you off, South of 5th. I liked Amnesia. I thought that was just, like the space was so unique
Yeah.
and cool. I'm going to have to say Bella Rose, just to
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
self-congratulatory. Self-congratulatory, and for all the good times I had.
Well,
in
you
the
got to say liquid then if you're going to shout out.
I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
liquid. I mean, for all the good times I had
Yeah.
in the handicap restroom at Bella Rose. Shout out to all the girls I loved before. Liquid. So that's 4.
Yeah.
Oh shit. What do I do? Oh man.
Shadow
Coveted
Lounge,
5th. Oh, Shadow Lounge is
KGB,
great. KGB.
Nikki
Yeah, but
Beach.
like we're going all time, right?
Yeah.
We're going like goat.
Yeah.
Well, I mean the Deuce.
There you go.
I mean,
Mac
have to be.
Deuce.
Have to be.
The oldest, longest. Yeah.
Have to be the Deuce.
We ran into Eddie Vedder there one day.
Of course you did.
Of
course
that
you did.
crazy?
Yeah. no, not at all. It's like perfectly on brand. Yeah,
And
no-
we didn't know until the bartender told us.
Yeah.
I forget her name. I can't remember her name, but
There was
she's
a
like,
bar-
you know who that is over there?
There was a bar in North Miami. I remember running into DMX a
Wow.
couple times. He was fucked up.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace. Like that. That was a crazy. You remember the Point? I don't even know if it's that. It was like a strip mall in San Souci just before Bal Harbor, like
Yeah.
before the
125th Street.
Causeway.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that place was crazy. That was the first place I ever saw a bouncer open a door with a man's face before. That was like the like
Boom.
hand on the collar, hand on the back of the pants,
Belt, yeah.
and just fucking right out like and then
I think that was me.
I saw that once in
got broken
1235. I saw that once in 1235. Because it has the push, so they would just throw the head
Yeah.
all right into
You know
it.
what I love to there was Bar Room
Bar
that
Room.
Chris opened
Yeah.
on
Lincoln.
the Lincoln on
Yeah.
the east side when it's no longer a walking street. And then there was Roomy. Alan
Yes,
Roth had
yes,
Roomy.
Alan Roth, Roomy.
And Alan let us shoot.
And then Rock Bar. Yeah.
And I love Rock Bar. And is Min still fucking there?
Yes.
That's amazing.
20-something
That's
years, yeah.
Fucking
Yeah.
remarkable. And I loved Rock Bar.
Yeah.
Because I preferred the
Yeah.
music at Rock Bar to
Yeah.
to Mint. But Mokai was cool when they opened Mokai. But I love remember Mokai, next to Mokai was that dive pool hall. Remember
Yep.
on the
Yep.
corner there
Yep.
on 23rd Street.
Yep, I remember.
For a minute. And then I liked Beaches,
Yeah.
at the Days Inn.
Yeah,
Beaches,
yeah.
Like Beaches was in like sort of the basement of the Days Inn.
Yeah.
The AC never worked. And then Sandbar in North Beach when there was actually sand
On the floor, yeah.
How did anybody let them
Tantra?
operate?
Did you go to
Really
Tantra?
good. Tantra. And then, but I love North Beach too. So like on the rocks,
Yep.
like all the, and then when the Days Inn
The tavern's still there.
on Ocean Terrace,
Yeah.
the Days Inn before it was like kind of fancy.
Yes.
Like the Days Inn had a great dive bar in the lobby.
I remember the Carillon Hotel.
bikinis.
Yeah. The DeVille.
You know,
Those hotels had some things. All right. So thank you, Billy, for being with us. Anything else you want to share with us?
no.
Okay.
I feel like
So
I feel like we did a podcast. right?
Absolutely. Look
Feels
at the
like-
camera and say, hey, it's Billy Corben. You're watching the Miami Made Show. Or you're listening to what? Miami Made Show.
Hey, this is Billy Corben. You're listening to the Miami Made Show.
Awesome, man. So glad to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Anything else you want to share with us?
I come see Lincoln Road Hustle. It's a great
There you go.
It's
guys.
a great night out
Tap
in Miami.
Yeah. Awesome, man. So glad to see you. Excited for you.
Thank
And
you.
we got a lot of stuff to chat on.
Oh yeah. Well, off the record.
It's
Turn the
good.
mics off.
It's
We gotta-
coming soon. We
Yeah,
got to do
off
our
the
little
record.
meeting. Awesome, man. Awesome. All right, guys.
Thank you.
It's a wrap. Thank you.
Yeah.